Welcome back to the Quiet on Set podcast powered by Cineman. I'm Ewan and as always, I'm joined by Lachlan.
On episode 142 of the Quiet on Set podcast, Superman is back. We have the casting decision for the James Gunn DCU. DCEU? No, just James Gunn universe. Because everything is now going to be directed by James Gunn and a brotherly competition for the big bad in that universe.
But before we talk about the latest de-aged adventure of Harrison Ford's... My cat just ran into my camera.
I saw that.
All right, I guess I'll have to redo the intro because my cat keeps running into my camera. So before we talk about the last CGI de-aged adventure of Harrison Ford as his last hurrah as Indiana Jones, we'll be talking about the other films in the series as well.
Ewan is right. Today on episode 142, we talk about the deranged, digitally de-aged Indiana Jones and the derailed, dysfunctional, dull IP of a film series that was once a delight and a fun time. This week we are covering Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Damn, that's already such a charged and loaded way of describing it that I feel like we'll have a lot to discuss here. So let's cue up that intro and get into the show. We are professionals.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes.
Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there.
Which actually,
Did you
this
get
is gonna
me a
be
hat
a
as
bit,
well?
Yes.
So I've got Dooncam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
All right, Lachlan, welcome back. A much anticipated film. I feel like we're matching today as well. You know, I got the white hat, the white shirt. You got like the beige gun hat, and we are representing. I love it. Have I made you into a hat guy? Because I made you that like quiet on set. I noticed you had it on last week as well.
Yeah.
Have I made you into one? Or
no, I've grown out my hair a little bit longer. I was gonna go buzz it again, but I haven't. But I'm just in that weird hair length phase where I'm just I don't know what I'm doing with it. So slap on a cap and just respect the grind of wearing a hat.
That's what I've been doing for the last like 2 years, so I can relate. My hair's just been in the growing stage for that long. But no, I did recently get a haircut as well, just because it did get long. So I like just cut it as short as you can because it's summertime here, so I don't want to have to deal with it. But yeah, before we get into the news and everything around that, I do want to give a quick shout out to the Marvel movie Minute. Lachlan and I recently were guests on that. And by the time this episode comes out, I think pretty much all of my episodes, other than one, and for you as well, have been released there. It's a really fun concept where they break down a movie 1 minute at a time. They're doing it for all the Marvel movies, and we joined them to talk about the Avengers. And yeah, I think I had a lot of fun. If they ever invite me back again for some future film, I definitely will do it.
Have to respect the grind. Have to respect they still have their mental capacity intact. You know, maybe it's a little bit gone, but like to do every Marvel movie 1 minute at a time, it's just I would have been locked up in an asylum at this point. I would be straitjacket, just like screaming just random facts about every single minute. So I respect the grind. I respect the guys on there.
They got a fun show over there. I think if it's just like the two of them, I feel like they would go insane. They definitely need like to offload the insanity of the concept of this podcast onto the guests. So it's really fun when you get a peek behind the curtain, because sometimes like they ask you a question, then they go into like intricate detail, because like one of them has gone through the virtual map of New York City, having also never been there, but he just knows the city by heart just because he went through it just for the movie alone. So they're doing some great work over there at True Story FM. They got a couple of other shows as well, but go give Marvel Movie Minute a try. We'll have a link to that below as well. But Lachlan, let's talk about some news items, and mainly the one that he teased in the intro, the announcement of who is going to be the next Clark Kent and Superman and Lois Lane, which I guess those are just two people at the end of the day, because if you didn't know, Clark Kent is also Superman. I know. Yes, everyone easily thought. Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully I don't get laser beamed out of existence, because I did just leak that. But yeah, there were a couple people in the running. I feel like the most notable of the 6 people that was doing screen tests was Nicholas Hoult. He did not get the role, but it instead went to David Corenswet, who I gotta say, looking at him, really just screams Superman. He has the jawline, he has the look down. He just looks the part so well. So I feel like that's a great decision. Lachlan, what do you think? Was this a good call? I mean, it's hard to say before we actually see him in the role, but I feel like look wise, I mean, that's perfect.
Yeah, I guess if we're just going for the standard Caucasian Superman look, then
yeah.
I thought they were doing a black Superman.
Yeah,
I might be wrong.
I don't know. Maybe that's like something that we'll get at some point, but
I swear I read an article that this is Superman Legacy, right?
Yeah, this is Superman Legacy, yeah.
I swear, maybe it's another one that they were planning on doing, but I swear I read that and I was more interested in seeing that.
I mean, yeah, for sure.
Just another Henry Cavill.
I mean, I did also
just
Reeves
look alike.
Recently, like the first thing as well is like for that is for me Idris Elba, because I feel like he's just perfect in a lot of different roles that I would love to see him in. And I just came across like a comment the other day where he said he was so burned out and like disgusted from the discourse that was happening when he was maybe in talks to take up the mantle of James Bond, that he was like, okay, it's not about the role, it just becomes about race. And I mean, you guys fucked it up. Everyone fucked it up. The stupid people that I guess we end up listening to on the internet, because he would have been amazing. He would have been incredible.
Sick James Bond.
But yeah. So I mean, I'd love to see that as well. But I guess for now we'll stay Caucasian for however much longer. But I mean, Nicholas Hoult also tried out for the Batman. I think probably Matt Reeves once. I assume. I just saw a bunch of headlines that he's like kind of dunking on him, like, oh, he's missed out twice now. I feel like for both of them, he's not a great fit, if I'm being honest. I don't really see him there. He's obviously like the most notable actor there, but yeah, I mean, he's done X-Men, so I don't know, I'll tick it off as a success for his superhero roles. But then Rachel Brosnahan was cast as Lois Lane, and I feel like that also works really well, although like that's just, you know, I guess at this point as well, just like white girl with the dark hair, that's pretty much it. But from the talks surrounding it, the more interesting thing to me is whoever is in talks of taking on the Lex Luthor role. And currently both the Skarsgårds, I think there's a couple more of the Skarsgårds, but 2 of the Skarsgårds brothers, Bill and Alexander, are like in talks going up for the role of Lex Luthor. And that's really exciting, Lachlan, right?
Yeah. I'd like a good Lex Luthor performance for once. It'd be nice to have at least a big screen Lex Luthor performance that's good for once. Yeah. I like some of them. I didn't like most of them. I would like one of these ones. Yeah. This would be good.
And for those who are not familiar, Bill Skarsgård is probably most well known as the clown from It, Mr. Pennyworth, right? Does the crazy thing with his eyes. And I don't know, what is Alexander Skarsgård most known for? He's kind of dabbled in a lot of things. I mean, my immediate thing is like his physicality in The Northman is out of this world. But he also plays like creepy rich dude, or like weird rich dude. Obviously not the Lex Luthor type in like the latest season of Succession, quite well. So whatever they end up going with, I feel like both of them would be a great choice.
I feel like Alexander has more of the physicality for Lex Luthor, in my opinion. Because just his physical appearance, I feel like it would be suited more. But I do feel like Bill could pull it off. I just think that with the recent stuff that Alexander's been in, Succession, Infinity Pool, Northman, I just think there's a better push for him he has got that bigger screen presence than what Bill, because Bill did it as Pennywise, but then since then has done more independent stuff, smaller screen stuff than big screen. So I feel like it would be, if it was down to them, it would probably be given to Alex.
You think so? I just don't know, because well, I guess ultimately it doesn't matter that like the actor for David Cornswet isn't as like well known as maybe a Nicholas Hoult would have been. And I mean, ultimately, I don't want a. That's just a personal thing for me. Is I want a superhero movie where I don't know if Lex Luthor will end up being the main villain in this, but where like the villain is the driving force, that makes it the most interesting. Because essentially, if a good Superman movie is always kind of going over the like ultimate power that he has to wield and how he wields it and the difficult questions that come with it. So you need a good villain to kind of bring that out of Superman. If they want to tell an interesting story, I really hope they do something good with the villains here. And like they were also talking that this will not like be an origin story or like a world where superheroes are just like popping up, but they'll actually already be established. So I was thinking, if you were banking on maybe some people popping up, who could you see maybe show up their face in Superman Legacy? Like what type of superhero characters?
I don't like DC as much as I like Marvel superheroes.
Yeah.
I've just never been as of a fan. But I would really like to finally see Martian Manhunter on screen. Instead of just like a little cameo. That was like one of my favorite moments in Justice League, the Zack Snyder cut, was him. So I just really want a movie, because I like his concept. It's so fun, and his abilities are really, really cool.
Yeah.
It's just also one character that hasn't been overdone, right? Only in animation has he really been on the screen. So I'm excited for that. If we could get more of that, please. And thank you, Mr. Gunn.
Mr. Gunn, please. We're not threatening.
More, sir. I would like more.
Please give me some more slop. Yeah, I feel like they'll not overdo the connection to this universe like too much on where I don't know, maybe like something like The Authority, which I know nothing about, could kind of tie in here. But like a superhero team-ish, right? I gotta read up on what they're actually about. But yeah, lots of options there, and I hope it's gonna be a success. Then I also wanted to talk about the continued, oh my god, just abysmal box office performance of The Flash. They've had another historically high drop that only Morbius could like overtake. That was actually worse. I saw like a bunch of reports putting it in context of like what else was this bad, and there's really not a lot. And I'm surprised. I'm surprised this movie bombed this hard, because I don't think it was a great movie, but I don't think it was like as bad as Morbius or something like that. So not bringing it up to like further dunk on it, but more to talk about the possibility that, well, The Flash definitely killed any prospect that we had to get a Batman Beyond movie, because I think a while ago that was in the works, because Michael Keaton's Batman was supposed to show up in that Batwoman, was it called? Yeah, Batgirl movie that was scrapped. And now that he's been in The Flash and that is tanking, I mean, like, yeah, we're not getting Batman Beyond, which is something that I don't know a ton about, but I just know that it's like been talked about for like 15, 20 years now, like probably 15 more likely, to get an adaptation of that. And I don't know, are you a bit familiar with the Batman Beyond story? Have you seen like the animated series?
No. Again, I'm not a DC guy.
Right, yeah. I mean, since like the last time I brought up like, oh yeah, he's not into anime, and we talked about One Piece, and he said like, oh, I've seen 300 episodes. I'm just like, at this point, I'm not like.
You don't assume.
I don't assume anymore. You could have totally seen it. But from the looks of it, I feel like Batman Beyond is something really interesting. So hopefully we'll get it at one point. And Keaton would have been the perfect person for it, I feel like, because it's like an older Batman. And it's nice to have them like early on and then later. But yeah, I mean, like superhero movies are not gonna go away anytime soon. So at one point we never saw, we would have never believed that like Spider-Man will be in the same movie as like the Marvel stuff because of the rights issue with Sony, and got one of the biggest movies of all time out of that. But we don't know. Then the striking. Oh no, got about to get flashed. That doesn't make sense if you don't know any film jargon. It's 7 a.m. in the morning. Sorry, I should not make jokes. I'm not being funny. But the Writers Guild of America is still striking, but the Directors Guild did negotiate a deal and is signing that with the studios and the streaming services to avoid its strike that was what was anticipated as well. But it looks like the SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, is going on strike. There was a ton of people that like additionally signed like a letter to SAG, I think, that they should not sign it, and that will ultimately lead to a strike. And I feel like it's very likely that this will happen, and it would obviously like really put a halt to all of Hollywood. I did see like over the last 2 days a couple of things that said, oh, like this and that is going into production or is starting filming. That would definitely put a halt to all of that. So it would actually put it to a standstill, and it's not looking like it's gonna be resolved anytime soon. I mean, we are slowly approaching the line of the 100 days that the previous strike had lasted, and I feel like this one is gonna go on for quite a bit longer. But yeah, our support still stands with the writers, with the actors here, as well. And I don't know, maybe at some point we can give you a roundup summary when it's all done, but it doesn't seem like that's gonna be in the next few weeks. One last thing that I wanted to bring up, just because it's so much fun. Have you seen like the recent campaign stuff that Barbie has been doing?
No.
No? Okay, so there are a couple different things. One of them I think is the whole like mansion that they like decorated. It's like a photo from top down where you can see all of the typical Barbie stuff. That's one of the big ones. There was just like some smaller things, like in a racing game they had like, I don't know, like a skin for it, nothing special. But they also had like a version of Xbox in like a Barbie house, and I feel like they're being really creative, and it's looking like it's going to be the more I guess commercial film between the two that release on July 21st. And Oppenheimer has just like not been doing that much other than, hey, we exploded an actual nuke, which is not, it's not really the case. They just did the nuke thing in camera, but I don't think they actually exploded a nuke. But the rumors carry that movie. But what do you think? What do you think about like this approach to marketing? Do you feel like it's effective? Because I feel like they've been nailing it. The internet is loving it.
It reminds me a few years ago when, and I wish this happens with these two movies as well, but Animal Crossing New Horizons and Doom Eternal were releasing on the same day. And it was like what game are you going to get? Are you going to get Doom Eternal? You're going to get Animal Crossing, right? And this is the same kind of idea. Are you going to go see Barbie or are you going to go see Oppenheimer? And I think that Oppenheimer is taking a pretty laid back approach because it's getting enough hype because Tom Cruise wants to shut down its release date.
Yeah.
And that's all they need. While Barbie is obviously going to fight for the seats of the people who don't want to go see what's coming out as a pretty horrific film. Not in the sense that it's bad, but is in I think they said it was devastating. People left cinemas devastated from watching Oppenheimer. So I'm going to assume that Oppenheimer is pretty fucking grim.
Yeah.
So if I want to go see it, I'm probably going to pick Barbie first. and then Oppenheimer, because I don't want to be depressed while going to watch Barbie. I feel like that's the terrible way of seeing it.
I feel like you should have just like a really pinkish, complete like suit that you dress up to go see Barbie, and you go in and rollerblades, exactly, and go in to see Oppenheimer and just stick out like a sore fun because everyone is just like dressed in all black. But yeah, I mean, it's the first R-rated film that Nolan has done since Insomnia. So I mean, his other movies got some dark subject matter as well, but I feel like, this is gonna be hitting it a bit harder, especially when, it becomes to like something historic. It's like you could definitely do that without getting an R rating. So there's some stuff that's gonna go down in this film. And we're not that far away, but like looking at the release calendar, I feel like next week we do kind of have an opening where there's not a lot going on, and you can definitely feel that, like, these two movies are not supposed to be released on the same day. That's why, like, there's a short little vacuum of a week where nothing comes out.
Someone
that would have
picked a
been
fight.
great. And yeah, man. I guess they're not gonna back down. But I mean, I'm loving the campaign. I'll throw up a bunch of pictures of some other stuff that they've been doing. And yeah, I mean, like the album as well that they got going for it. They got a lot of like star power on that. I feel like they're going all out, and I mean, they do need a bit more, to get people in there, because like essentially, if you don't know what this movie is going to be, or if you don't know Greta Gerwig, which will be like I feel like the majority of people that go to see this film will have no clue that this is like the director of Little Women, and yeah, and probably not the ones that would get them excited. It's just like a silly big blockbuster movie that will have like a bunch of I guess maybe good writing in it, not just like silly dumb IP fun. Yeah. I'm keen for both. I haven't decided which one I'll see first, because ultimately I think it will come down to whoever has the press screening first for me, which I was so close to suggesting to Universal here that they should like do the press screening at the same time as the other one, just like to further fuck with them. But yeah, that's that. So yeah, that's it for the news. Let's get to what we've been watching. Yeah, Lachlan, what have you been up to? What have you been watching?
Nothing. I'm not here next week. So I'm busy organizing that. So I've done nothing. But we are going down south. Myself and my girlfriend, and we've already decided that we're going to watch 50 First Dates. When I say we, I mean she. And it's
what do you mean? Are you not gonna watch?
No, I'll watch. I'll watch. But I don't know if I've told you this story, but last time we kind of went down south in Western Australia for a week. I made her watch all of the Star Wars movies. Oh. So I think it's her turn. Yeah. Literally, we were there for like a week and we watched all of the Star Wars movies, prequels, original, and at the time, the 2 sequels. Yeah. We didn't watch a new Rogue One or Solo. Right. I didn't want to, but we watched the original, and now we can make Star Wars references together, which is great. So yeah, we're gonna be watching that movie and maybe some other stuff. I'm thinking Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, she gets like 90 to 100 minute movies,
90-minute film,
and you get the next 10 hours.
Yep.
All right. We'll have to report back once you get back. That's why we are recording it a bit earlier, so I don't have the crazy amount of movies that I guess I usually watch, which is actually quite nice to me. But just for those interested, I did start to upload a separate video that can only be accessed through Patreon for free, or in a playlist on the channel here. It's also linked below, where I go over some of the other stuff that I don't just want to blabber on and monologue here too much. So I'll reduce down the amount of movies that I talk about in the future here. as well in what we've been watching. But the last one I did was 30 minutes long, and it was like dense. There was so much to talk about. But it was a very busy week of me watching movies there. So if you're interested, go give that a try. But I did rewatch The Thing. What would you say is like one of the, it's a loaded question, but what would you say is like one of the best horror films of all time? Is like The Thing in there? Or yeah, what's on
The Thing is in there, but
Yeah.
I think the best horror film of all time is. Can you ask me this at the end of what we've been watching so I can think about it?
Sure.
I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you.
Thank you. It's noted. But I did watch it with my little brother the first time. It was one of the films that he really wanted to see, and it was my third time seeing the movie. I think the first time I saw it, I thought it was a great movie. No, I didn't think it was a great movie. I thought it was a good movie. Because the amount of characters in there, I just like didn't get to know everyone, and that was kind of confusing to me because I didn't know like how many people were here and there. But the second time around, I appreciated that more because like that adds to the chaos. And now in this third time watch, I'm like, this is as close to like a perfect horror movie as you get. It's got like the spectacle, the incredible like work with prosthetics and effects, and all of that is just amazing, and it's one of my favorite movies now. I love The Thing. So if you haven't seen it, go give it a try. It's really gruesome, man. It has some really disgusting moments as well. But if you're like, if you're queasy with like some dysmorphia when it comes to humans or animals, then I feel like I do have to give a warning for it, because that's like the craziest shit you'll see in that film. But yeah, I watched The Thing. Do have a couple more. I see Lachlan has his thinking cap on. He's still thinking on like the best horror film. So I'll talk about Late Spring, a movie from 1949. So yes, I did go quite far back. I'm trying to catch up on some films that I really want to see and that I rarely make the time for. Yeah, Ozu, the Japanese filmmaker, is one of my favorites just from seeing like two of his other films. And this movie is streaming on the Criterion Channel, and for those in the US on Max. And it is just like a tale about a daughter. She's 27, lives with a dad who is a widower. Essentially, she's to be like married off, and it's about the dynamics of her kind of wanting to things not to change and stay with her dad. And I feel like it's a really interesting story about them as humans just overall. Like that's what Ozu does so well, but also of her like dependence always being tied to a man. Like she can only be unmarried because she's staying with her dad, and that her dad kind of wants her there. And as soon as he doesn't want her there anymore, she kind of has to go get married. And I feel like that is really tackled in like 49 in such a human way that is so incredibly interesting. He's got a particular style. His movies are slow moving, but I adored it as well. Gave that a 9 out of 10. Really, really great film. And then another 9 out of 10 for the Battle of Algiers from 1966. And it's like tracing the struggle of the Algerian Front, the Liberation Nationale, to gain freedom from French colonial rule. And it's essentially like showing terrorists going up against the French, and like how easily that can come from the military occupation of a place that is leading to like militant groups to terrorize a place that is in some ways also like really justified why it's there. And it's a complex film, really amazingly done. Can recommend that too. That's also streaming on the Criterion Channel and on Max in the States. So Lachlan, to throw it back to you, what's the best horror film of all time?
After all of this, I couldn't come up with a very funny joke. So, the best horror movie is The Thing.
The Thing.
There you go.
Congrats. I feel validated.
I've been trying to figure out a joke, but I could not come up with one.
Yeah, that's okay. But I do want to talk about because I did also rewatch all of the
Kim
Indiana Jones
Kardashian sex tape. There it is. Whoopsies.
It's a horror
missed
film?
a horror film.
The big snake monster.
Well,
there.
for her kids, but yes.
Yeah, that's trauma. Oh my god. Yeah, no, I did rewatch all of the Indiana Jones films in preparation for this week. So uh I love them. They're great. And I did really want to rewatch the fourth one just to see what we can compare this next one to, because I feel like it's pretty obvious, especially if you've seen a non-spoiler review, that the latest one doesn't touch the original trilogy. But like, what's your memory? What's your relationship with the Indiana Jones series?
I have a love for the original three.
Yeah.
I think they're great films, and over time I have come to love Crystal Skull. I'm not gonna lie. So I do really like the Indiana Jones series as a whole. For me, Last Crusade will be my favorite, even though I really do like Raiders. Crusade was, I believe, the first one I actually watched. So there's just that specialness in it for me. I think I watched it backwards, actually. I think I watched Crusade, Temple, and then Raiders, which is an odd way of doing it.
Yeah.
But obviously they're all their own thing.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, yeah.
That's my history.
Because I think Marion isn't in the third one, right? So it doesn't really matter. She's back for the fourth one and the fifth one. Yeah, I did also watch Raiders with my little brother. I made a double feature, The Thing and then Raiders, and it was a great double feature. And for me, what really came through is that these movies have always been very silly. And I feel like a lot of the critiques that came for the fourth one, like not really considering that as much. I feel like what is more of a letdown in the fourth one is the amount of what is it called, like hallouming or whatever, like that glow that is just like around that you get from stacking the same file on top of each other. I don't need to give you a breakdown of how to do it in the video editing software, but what you get, what I'm saying is like that glow is just ever present in that movie, and it's just like that movie really loses me at the car chase. Like I feel like that's for a lot of people. I guess that's where that happens, but it's like the sequence the jungle. That's the sequence that really doesn't work for me, and I think I also remember the first time stopping the movie when I saw it like a couple of years ago and saying like, this shit is stupid as fuck. I don't like this. Like it's really over the top with the ants, and I don't mind the fridge thing at all. It's like it's one of the silly things. Like there's also after that, like there's a not the pretty good sequence that is funny but also ridiculous of them. Like there's 3 drops and they just like go down the waterfall. Like there's some funny bits in the fourth one as well, and it does have its charm. But and you also said that you think like Kingdom, I think is better than Dial of Destiny. I guess we'll have to revisit that one. But I also made some calculations of how well these movies did at the box office. And what is notable is that Indiana Jones has always been a really successful franchise at the box office. Only the first one was actually like the highest grossing of its year. But what is notable here is that it had that it was the leggiest movie of all time, which means you got like an opening box office number that the movie does over the first weekend, and being the leggiest movie means that like it did the most amount of times of that opening money again. So Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark did 27.17 times its opening budget ultimately in the box office run. It was also in theaters for like over a year. It and adjusted to inflation now, it would have grossed $1.22 billion. So this franchise has been a $1 billion franchise if adjusted for inflation for a while. The second one did a bit less 974 million was the third highest grossing of its year. Crusade did 1.16 billion, and then Kingdom, adjusted to inflation here, of course, is 1.11 billion, and both of those last two were the second highest grossing film of its year. So I'm especially bringing that up because we had some box office tanks for franchises and studios, and I'm not sure where this latest one will add up, if it will make the like top 3 the rest of the franchise has been doing so far. But we can talk a bit more about that, I guess, in our review. But just quick thoughts: do you think this next one, the 5th one, will be a hit like the previous ones, or will it tank, or just like be kind of in the middle somewhere?
It totally depends on how it's received from a greater audience at first.
Yeah.
I feel like once the initial non-critique reviews are out, and it's just like everyday people reviewing the film on IMDb and on the internet, then we might see it fall off. But if people like it, they might go see it, and I'm sure there's plenty of hardcore fans that definitely want to go see the film in cinemas, because that's how they've seen every other Indiana Jones movie, so why would they make it different? So I could definitely see it making some money. As much money as the rest. I think it might be a Temple of Doom level of income for this film.
Yeah, so yeah, I feel like that is a bit more realistic, but that would mean in today, I mean, that movie made 333 million right at its time, but that's now adjusted 974 million, which would be quite a successful movie. I did put this into our spoiler talks, but I guess I'll take it away right now. Currently, the highest grossing movie is the Super Mario Brothers with 1.34 billion worldwide, and then the second one is Guardians with 825. And I mean, I could
Guardians not make $1 billion?
No. I think most Guardians films didn't. I don't know if any of them cracked $1 billion. I feel like this is one of.
But like,
it was like 700
one
something.
Film that's cracked $1 billion.
This year, yeah, and I saw someone recently say that like the movie to make $1 billion that is not based on IP or like a sequel or anything, I think was like 8 years ago, and it was it was one of the Pixar films. What was it? It wasn't Frozen. It was like another one. But just a really long time ago that we got $1 billion movie that was not based on any sort of IP, which. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, that's I guess what we need. But let's actually talk about that 5th installment in this franchise. And Lachlan, do you want to read the logline for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny? I got 2 there, by the way. The ones.
I'll read both of them.
Oh my God!
Finding himself in a new era, approaching retirement, Indy wrestles with fitting into a world that seems to have outgrown him. But as the tentacles of an all too familiar evil returns in the form of an old rival, Indy must don his hat and pick up his whip once more to make sure an ancient and powerful artifact doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Or archaeologist Indiana Jones races against time to retrieve a legendary artifact that can change the course of history. Yes.
I love the dedication to it. Yeah, the first one is a bit long, I'd say.
Very long.
I think that's the one that we read for our non-spoiler review, which, by the way, if you want to hear our non-spoiler thoughts straight from Gun, you can go give that a listen. The rest of this review will be spoiler heavy. We won't hold back.
It's spoiler territory, baby.
It is spoiler territory. And yeah, let's talk about the film. It's a long one. It's, I think, the longest Indiana Jones film with over 2.5 hours so far. Like we said, hasn't been out to the public yet. We're also recording this before it's released to the public, like, at all. But so far, it is at a 3.2 on Letterboxd. That's really low. A 7.1 on IMDb and a 58 on Metacritic. It is, Jesus Christ, it is an expensive movie. This movie reportedly has a production budget of $295 million, which is crazy. And it's currently tracking
Wild.
An estimate.
I got an allergy from that budget. Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, to step outside. But it's currently tracking a $65 million opening, which would put it behind, if I remember correctly, the fourth one, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I think that had like an opening of like 75 or 80 million in like the first opening weekend. Regardless, a $300 million budget means it has to basically make a billion to be considered a success. To actually get the return on this. That's a lot of money. But yeah. So, Lachlan, it's been a while since we've seen this film. Because it's not out. We haven't had a chance to give it a rewatch. So, off of our memory from Gun that early morning, so we still actually haven't seen like the first 3 minutes of this movie. It's like still have not.
It was a shit show to get into that theater.
Yeah. But it was a unique experience there. But like, what are your overall thoughts on this latest adventure, this potentially last adventure for India? Well, I feel like it's the last adventure.
Bad, trash. I dislike this film. I don't hate it. Mm-hmm. I dislike it. Right. I'm disappointed. I didn't go into this film with a prejudice against Crystal Skull. I went into this film going, okay. So
have some fun.
Many years ago, I discovered that Steven Spielberg stepped away from the project. Mm-hmm. Is that a red flag? Possibly. What could be that red flag? Well, it could be that it's a pretty shitty screenplay. Okay, sure. That's okay. But who steps up to the plate?
James Mangold.
Mangold. There we go. We said it at the same time. Maybe with a bit of delay, but I tried to make sure we do it at the same time.
I did say it before you. Technically.
Oh, okay. That's embarrassing.
No. We said it at the same time. There's a delay. There's a delay. You probably were first. Anyways. James Mangold. Who's James Mangold?
James Mangold has done some pretty good films in the past. Most notably for me would be Logan. Mm-hmm. And he can make a decent film from some source material. So I was hoping that he stepped up to the plate, looked at the screenplay and went, look, guys, this ain't it, chief. And maybe fucked around with it a little bit and made it a little bit better. Mm-hmm. I don't think James Mangold's the problem here. I don't think that any of the performers are the issue here. I think that each performer, actor, actress, whether it be Harrison Ford, Phoebe Waller-Bridges, whether it be Mads Mikkelsen, even Boyd Helbrook, which he has like 2 lines of dialogue in the opening 30 minutes of the film, and then he doesn't say like anything for the rest of the film. He's just there. Yeah. It is nothing to do with them. They have some pretty good actors and actresses in this film. It's the screenplay. It's the story. It's the script. It's the dialogue between them. Not the performers giving that dialogue, but the actual words themselves. Yeah. And how they interact with it and how it bounces between each character. It's just a little too... It's just bad.
It's very...
That's all I can say. It's
goofy.
Just bad.
And I feel like the rest of the films were also goofy, but like it was like some of the situations that they make it out of are pretty ridiculous. But from a screenplay standpoint, the performances that was simple there had like a lot of chemistry, kind of carried it. But there's like a scene in a library, I think, where they like knock over a bunch of stuff and bookshelves. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was looking for. Bookshelf. It's really early in the morning. And
but it's not books. It's artifacts. So artifact shelves.
Artifact shelves. I guess. Yeah. They get shelved. And that's what should have been done with this character. It should have been shelved. I don't think they had like a worthwhile story to tell here. Unfortunately, it's just like that silly, goofy way of doing it. Doesn't really work because it's also like they're not trying to kill him most of the time. I think like that's the impression that I get. And Harrison Ford is just old as well. He's just very old. Like, leave the man alone. To get like this pretty still action heavy performance out of him. Like, obviously not him. It's a lot of like the stunt doubles, which are quite noticeable. But uh, it just doesn't really work. And then I guess you got to do the thing again where you bring in someone younger, and because it takes also some Temple of Doom inspirations, and also has like another younger character in here that I could not for the life of me name right now. I got no clue what that guy is called, but I just know that he's in there for quite a bit of like the latter half of the movie, which I also got a
Teddy?
Hetty?
Teddy.
Teddy. I don't know. I don't know. One of them. Oh yeah, Teddy. It's Teddy. Yeah. And I feel like the Temple of Doom kid, which we now know as Oscar-winning Ke Kwan, is really great in that role. They give him a lot of just background character energy in the way that he like does a lot of stuff in the background here, and it doesn't work if it feels so studio heavy in its writing. That's why I agree with you. I feel like it's not the fault of the actors or the director here, but it's more like a studio thing that we need a hit that checks these boxes. But yeah,
the film relies heavily on cameos, callbacks, and references, and that's not a film plot point. That's the thing. They are fluff pieces, and because this film is already long enough, I don't feel that it's necessary to have that level of interest in a character. You don't need to have 30 seconds dedicated to a bunch of characters who haven't been on screen for a while as a callback or a reference, especially when you get to the end of the film where there's one last one that's just like thrown in there. And it's like, whatever. Especially when you don't get all characters back, like they kill off, and again, we are in spoilers, Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
Like he's gone. And it's just like 2 lines of dialogue and that's it. And it's a bit unfortunate that that's the case. Maybe Charlie didn't want to come back, or maybe they just wrote him out without telling him.
No, they definitely wrote him out because, like, that there's a lot of bad blood.
No one wants to do with Shia LaBeouf these days. But yeah, that's the unfortunate thing, is just that they rely too much on these cameos to hold emotional weight, because between the characters who are on screen, you said there's a little bit of chemistry. I didn't feel it.
I think the Phoebe Waller-Bridge stuff works better in theory, at least to me, than it does in actuality. From the part time that I've watched this film when I wasn't sleeping, it worked better in my head. Again, I did fall asleep. I would have loved to revisit this one and actually watch the whole movie, because there's an Antonio Banderas cameo that I think saw 15 seconds of. What? It's not a cameo? You think it's like an actual role that he gets?
It's an actual role.
Okay.
He's in there long enough.
For me, it was a cameo because I saw him for like 15 seconds before. Like, I was awake for 15 seconds. I was tired that morning. But yeah. Look, I think the death of Shia LaBeouf is also kind of a catalyst to have some conflict between him and Marion, that he has like a drive for Indy's arc that ultimately was let down. That's all hinging on, let's get them back together, because like we saw them in the first movie, and it's like a long ass romance that you want to see come back together. And I wanted, talking big spoilers here, Indy just like stay in the past, and I was kind of let down when they don't follow through with that. It feels in an odd way when he's there and he's like, with his wishes to stay here, they just like force him back in, is like oddly what this movie also feels like. Although, like, I'm sure Harrison Ford is very happy, incredibly happy to be doing this film. He loves it. But they didn't give it the same. Money. He definitely loves the money. I think he's definitely. I mean, he's about to be in the MCU, so he's making a bank before he probably will quit acting. Or maybe he'll go like until he can't anymore. But yeah, I was a bit let down for where they end up in the story. But I just wanted to ask you, like, what makes what's the charm? What makes like an Indiana Jones movie great for you? What's the great thing about like the original trilogy? Well, I guess for you, even the fourth
mystery.
The mystery.
The mystery. So I like how you segued into this, because this is one of my points for why I don't like this film.
Yeah.
Each Indiana Jones film is a action adventure film.
Yeah.
And there's mystery to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a mysterious aspect. And I've come and I said, and some people won't like me saying that I like Crystal Skull, but Crystal Skull, the issue I have with Crystal Skull, other than picking down individual scenes, but as a whole, as a film, looking at Dial of Destiny, there is aliens in Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
Spoilers, right? That's the unbelievable part, right? Everyone's like, it's fucking aliens. But the thing is, every single one of Indiana Jones films, there's that little bit of unbelievability, okay? But the majority of the film is set in a reality. That's the thing. Big ants, they can exist. You know, big metallic heads that are made of crystal, that are magnetic. Yeah. That can be believable. It can be a reality, right?
The original Ant-Man.
But the thing is, each film has 30 seconds to a minute of that unbelievable part, that spectacle. Whether
the
it
mystery
be
of archaeology
with the Ark of the Covenant, whether it be the reaching into the heart of someone, chest of someone to reach and grab their heart, right? 30 seconds of that. Whether it be someone living forever, a knight that's lived forever, like the cup of Christ, making some guy just die instantly if he takes the wrong cup. These are all unbelievable things. Now, Last Crusade is probably the one out of the original trilogy that has the longest, but Crystal Skull does the same thing. The alien aspect is only in there for like a minute, 2 minutes, with the actual alien reaching down to talk to the villain, Kate Blanchett's character, who's not coming to me with the name, and also when the alien spacecraft leaves. That's it. Yes, it's aliens, but also the act of God reaching in voodoo magic to the chest of somebody, and also the cup of Christ was not believable in the original trilogy. I get that. That's an argument that can be made. But Dial of Destiny's time travel, which is its unbelievable part, is a whole 15, 20 minutes in the film. It's too long to be set in a reality that we are expecting to be real, right? Yeah. That's the issue I have with this film. There's no... there is sci-fi in Indiana Jones. That is a fact, right? Science fiction can be, whether it be like the act of God or voodoo magic, it's an unbelievable aspect. Sure, it's not in the future reality like aliens are, but it's got that fantasy aspect to it, right? Dial of Destiny is a sci-fi adventure. Yeah. It's not an action adventure. It's a sci-fi adventure. And that mystery part that I spoke about, right? The original trilogy has this really well done, especially in Last Crusade. My favorite example is the X on the floor. When Indy is walking around the room, figuring out the mystery of how he has to find this like sarcophagus of this knight. And he goes, X marks the spot. And you just go, that was so cool. That was so much fun. They were bouncing off each other. You can see that he's having a good time because he's an archaeologist. He's having fun dissecting this. But there's none of that in this film because the answers are just known to every character, especially Helena. Helena knows the answer to everything. Indy knows the answer to stuff that Helena doesn't know. And if they don't know it, well then Mads Mikkelsen's Vola's going to know it, right? That's the issue I have with this film. There's no mystery because they present a mystery and they answer it within 30 seconds.
I feel like it's also towards the end less like there's the repetition that all of the four previous films have of like you said, escalating it at the end, and it's usually like a comeuppance on some kind of moral thing of like just being greedy or whatever. I feel like the third one really nails it. Like that moment between Indy and his dad, that like, Indy, let it go. Like that's like, ooh, that hits so hard. Like I would not be surprised if that makes a shit ton of people cry. Because it's just like, it has that emotional resonance as well. And I feel like this movie kind of needs that as well. If he wants that extended moment that he basically is back in whatever Mesopotamia. I don't know what time they go back to be honest. Because it really doesn't leave like a mark on me. And I wasn't asleep for this last part, by the way. I did stay awake for the entirety of that. But it just never gets anywhere interesting. Like if you sacrifice the mystery part, the quickness of like that ridiculousness in favor of story, in favor of a connection, I'm fine with it. But I also didn't feel that, because I feel like it's easier to see people connect when they're a bit flawed, when they got some issues that they got to work through. Here, I don't know. It takes out all of the faults that Indiana Jones has in a way a bit, and it's more and more about like they're just running from place to place, figuring out, like you said, all the riddles in like 1 second. And it feels more like an action movie. Like the adventure part is kind of taken away from this. And I think it's a mistake. It's not great. But I also feel like it's going to be received this way. I would be surprised if people, I'm sure that critics were a bit harsher than the audience is going to be on this. Like, for sure, that's always the case. That's the job of the critic to not, because the audience goes to see what the audience wants to see, and critics tend to see whatever is released. So you do get a bit more criticism there, usually. But yeah, I feel like that's going to be an issue for a bunch of people. Although, like, there are some fun moments in there, but it's hard to... I don't know if I got, like, a favorite moment, because it's all, like, so mellow. There's no real peaks. To me, there's also, like, no really harsh valleys. It's just, like, it's kind of just, like, okay-ish the whole time through.
Well, the opening set piece is probably the best part of the film.
That is true, but we did
action
miss...
is probably one of the best parts of the film.
Part of
which is the moment that they de-age him. But the thing is, it's not that interesting. Like, the de-aging looks really good because they do it quite strategically in low light, which is perfect. But
yeah, I mean, it's still noticeable.
That's not the it's not the aspect of this scene. This scene is setting up the entirety of the film.
Yeah,
and it's probably the best part. Maybe Spielberg directed that scene,
and then
then was like, "Yeah, I'm done." Yeah, and then he dipped.
I mean, that's the place where we get Mads Mikkelsen as well, and his villain is also... I feel like the villains in Indiana Jones were never the strong part. They were just a vehicle for something else. So I don't mind...
You're a liar.
That who is a great villain? I don't like Cate Blanchett. I think like, oh my god, that ridiculous haircut. It's...
What's his name? Bullock.
Yeah, in the first one.
Yeah.
No, I think Raiders does have the best villain overall. I don't really care for the one in 3.
Never been able to like peak that.
To do what? Oh, to peak that? Yeah.
Never been able to peak that.
I mean, yeah, they do go back to the Nazis because it's like just like, I mean, it's a fucking Nazi. It's easy to hate. And yeah, Waller here, Dr. Waller, is after the Dial of Destiny to like his motivation at the end of the... I know that they're always like selfish and dumb, but like, what's his thing that he wants to go back and do a better job than Hitler? That's his motivation.
Yeah, he wants to be the Hitler. Yeah.
Yeah, it's and we like, I don't know. That's just... It's just silly. It's so over the top. And I mean, it's fine. It's fine. He is not like as ridiculously evil as a character like that would need to be. But yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I also wanted to mention that I think that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull starts off in a better place, and it really loses me at, like I said, like that car chase. But up to there, I feel like you got a pretty solid movie there. There's just some things that I don't like about it, but like it goes downhill for me, literally like drops down 3 stories in a waterfall. And here, that like opening doesn't it's great, it's pretty good, but it never connects with anything after that worked for me. What else do you want to talk about? Are there like any specific moments, favorite, least favorite ones that you wanted to bring up?
I've got nothing really. because the least favorite moment was when I entered the theater, and my favorite moment was when I exited the theater.
That's okay. Good to know.
Thank you.
I didn't want to bring up some alternate history thing here. Speaking of time travel and everything, because in early 2015, I found this fun fact that Denis Villeneuve's brother Martin did write a script proposal for a fifth or sixth installment Indiana Jones series, and he pitched it to Denis Villeneuve, who was like working on Blade Runner 2049. It was described as nearly perfect or whatever, and was up for Steven Spielberg's consideration, but to direct, but it never ended up happening. I just wanted to get your thoughts on where do you see this? What do you think about like an alternate history where maybe Denis Villeneuve is directing this instead of James Mangold, and they did work their own script in? Do you think that's something that maybe would have succeeded in a way different way? Like now that he's done a Blade Runner sequel that is, to our standards, really an amazing movie, and a really highly received Dune film that's getting a sequel this year. What do you think about like this, alternate history proposal?
You see,
there's the multiverse in cinemas all the time. Why can't we get one for different movies?
I wouldn't trade 2049.
Oh, no, for sure not.
For a
never.
Better Blade Runner.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, if someone could leak that script, that'd be great, please.
Yeah.
Can we have someone leak that script so we can read
please
and think about the what ifs, and then can we have someone animate the script for us, please? Brilliant. And then can we have Harrison Ford voice act, please?
Can we just have Harrison Ford sitting in the back, please, for like one episode?
Let's just do a TV serial of the screenplay when it's leaked.
No, I just want him to eat cereal in the background, just like munching away on it. No. By the way, if you want to get a good dose of Harrison Ford, go give Shrinking a try. He plays like a grumpy, old, lovable shrink in that show, and he's amazing. It's like, we've had some great TV that was ending this year. Shrinking, with its first season, is up there as one of the ones to replace it, alongside like The Bear and Shrinking, probably the best shows that are currently airing. So that's my should I make that a double feature? I might make that a double feature. Yes. Okay, so let's get to our rating of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, because I feel like there's not much to add that we wanted to. He should have died, is what I'm saying. He should have just stayed there and lived out his life, but I guess he's back with Marion. Happy ending. Not so happy ending for our ratings, because, well, I'm giving it a 2.5 out of 5. What about you, Lachlan?
I'm giving it a 2 out of 5.
Oh, wow. Did you go down with your rating?
I think I did. I might go even further if you tempt me. Not gonna lie.
No. We'll stop it here. Because, otherwise we're just dirty film critics that can't enjoy anything and will be hated by the audience.
Dirty film critics.
Dirty. I did shower this morning, so I'm not that dirty.
Good.
So, no, you. Go shower yourself if you got a problem with our ratings here. But no, let's pick a double feature for Dial of Destiny.
How about you go first this week while I quickly think of one, because I haven't thought of one yet.
I did write one down for you further there, but it's not a released film yet, and I feel like you'd like it. But I'm going with, I guess, Shrinking, Apple TV Plus series. It's really fun. And yeah, got like 10 episodes, I think. Season 2 is coming as well. Go give it a try.
My double feature is another archaeologist movie, directed by someone with the same initials as Steven Spielberg, but directed by Stephen Sommers. It's the 1999 classic The Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
To this day, I still have not seen that movie. I really gotta.
You haven't seen The Mummy? Are
No,
you fucking kidding me?
You
have to watch it, brother.
I know. Okay.
You have to watch it, man.
I'll make sure to squeeze it in. I'm also rewatching all of the Mission Impossible films. because in 2 weeks we'll be talking about that latest film. There's some early reactions out of it, and it seems like it's not going to be like the best of the Mission Impossible series, but I feel like they've had some hype. Not like I'm saying it in a way it was like bad. It's just like not as great as maybe Fallout was a really good one, I think.
Well, that was fun.
But yeah. Anyways, releasing this week before we get ahead and jump to the next week, July 7th, Insidious: The Red Door is releasing. I also got to watch those films. I think there's 2 that precede this, and then there's like 3 or 4. No, there's 3 more, I think, that are not directly tied to this next sequel. I won't be watching those, but I'll be catching up with Insidious 1 and 2 before, the Red Door enters. You walk through the red door. I don't know. I don't know what the connection is. I gotta watch Insidious. Is what I'm trying to say. And then in the States, unfortunately not for me and Lachlan, Joyride is releasing a raunchy Asian-led comedy here that we will give a try as soon as we get it here, which won't be for another, I think, 2 weeks. No, sorry, not for another 2 weeks, for another 2 months is what I'm trying to say. It's a bit longer than that. So if you want to hear my thoughts on that early, like I said, the thing that is linked below with the extended what I've been watching, I will be talking about that later on, because it will be recorded after, the weekend once I've seen it. So that's kind of jump into the future. We got some more movies to talk about. Anyways, like I said, Insidious, the Red Door is our main topic next week. Until then, Lachlan, what can people do? What should they do here on our channel while you're still here?
They should like the video, subscribe to our channel so they can see the latest podcast episode each week.
Exactly.
We've relaunched the Patreon with free content, just so you can see stuff that's not for YouTube, but just over there. Didn't really fit the format, so we have it off the channel. Kind of makes sense.
Kind of does make sense.
And follow us on every single one of our socials that can be found in the description below the video.
Exactly. So that's pretty much it. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Close the door, because it's turning red.